What's up, YouTube? Welcome to another episode of the Undergrad Forum. Now in this video, we're going to talk about the resources you can use to study for your psychiatry clerkship. I'm going to keep this simple. We're going to keep it quick, right to the point. So psych's a super fun rotation. You get to see things you don't normally get to see in other aspects of medicine. If your university has an inpatient psych unit, that's especially great for you because the psych pathologies or conditions you see in the outpatient clinic are not going to be the same ones that you will see on the inpatient. The inpatient will have much more severe disease or unique conditions that require inpatient hospitalization. That's a great learning opportunity. So the question is, how do you prepare for psych and how do you study for the shelf? So the beautiful thing about psychiatry, it's like no difference than anything else in medicine. You go to your unit, you present to your team, you get assigned patients, you interview them, you'll do an assessment and plan, you'll present. Nothing's different. So that classic thing, you already know what to do on third year clerkship. And so you just kind of continue. But how do you study for the shelf and how do you study throughout the core rotation? I used only one resource with a bit of a modification. What did I use? I used First Aid for the psychiatry clerkship. God, I'm telling you, First Aid must be making billions because they have like perfect things for everything. The reason why I like this is one, a lot of upperclassmen recommended it to me. And two, look how tiny it is. It's so tiny. So kind of a beneficial thing. It's to the point. It's efficient. You talk about pharm. You talk about the pathologies. You really get close to it. And the content on here is really on point with what you see on the shelf. So I think that's why so many people who were above me recommended it, and probably why I'm recommending it today. And this is really the only resource I used. All I did was, it kind of comes down to the question of how do you study while you're on rotation. You get there early in the morning, you're there working all day, you may have some downtime to kind of review or read books, and then you get off late after sign out and you're kind of like, man, that was like a full work day, when do I have time to study? That's kind of why it's nice to have succinct books. Throughout anything in third year you can have a bunch of resources, but this is kind of, I think, more of a realistic point that when you have limited time, you want to pick like one strong resource to read and like one QBank to use, and that's all. Because in reality, you're not going to read these huge books. You're not going to read a bunch of resources. Time's limited. You want to be on the wards learning. You want to come in with knowledge because you read the night before. And you want to have fun because clerkships is like some of the most fun time you'll have in medical school. So all I did was, I would, go in the morning, you can read a little bit the weekend before through this First Aid, flip through it, get comfortable. It's a lot of stuff you remember from, the first, second years of med school, and especially studying for step one. A lot of it's, the same content. So you'll review this book, go in, learn from your team, see how they want you to see patients, how they want you to, examine them, ask questions, how they want you to present. That's all going to be university specific, but for the most part, it's the same things as we do in everything in medicine. But then when you go home, at the end of the day, or if you have downtime, the beauty of this book is, it's broken, it's really quick chapters. They kind of break it down into different clear topics that you'll just go into, and you can just like read it through the day. I mean, look how like wide, it's like kind of big font, it's spaced out, there's like cool things in the corner. As a side point, I don't get paid by anyone to tell you these things. These are just books that I like, so I don't think I'm getting paid by like First Aid or anything. I added a little bit to it, so you can talk to your upperclassmen about the Kaplan PDFs for Step 2. I'm not going to say anything more, but just talk to them and be like, hey, where did I get that? They look like this. So I threw in child development, that's Chapter 3, some psychopharm, and that's about it. Just because I just thought it was like things that I wanted to include that were coming up, and I think someone told me to throw some of those in, so I did, and it paid off. So the shelf, really, if you just read this book and you do your U-World, you'll be fine. If I haven't said this in the other videos, like throughout your third year, one nice thing to do is just pick one QBank and just stick with it and do it throughout third year. If at this point you're in third year, you've already taken USMLE Step 1, you'll be thinking about Step 2, and you already understand the value and the beauty in QBanks, where it's not so much something for you to test yourself as it is for you to read about patient cases and do example questions, and then, when you look at the answers to these questions, you learn so much. It's like a textbook in and of itself of really high yield topics. So all I did, I used UWorld throughout third year. Again, I don't get paid by UWorld or anyone to say this, but it's just my preference. I just used UWorld. Some people were saying, oh, don't use UWorld, save that for step 2. You'll remember all the questions. Wow, you must have great memory if you did the UWorld once, and when you were studying for step 2, you remembered again. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. There's so many questions on UWorld, and if by pure chance you remember a ton of them, okay. The point is it's the content in the answers that you're learning. But it's up to you. If you want, you can use a different QBank for your third year clerkships. I just use UWorld. Some people use Kaplan. Up to you. Just pick one. Hit Psych. Do the questions. Read from it. Read the corresponding sections in here. Write in your notes. Do that kind of progressively throughout the clerkship. The problem is I say that and everything sounds great in the theoretical sense. You tell yourself, I'm going to get up, I'm going to go to the unit, I'm going to see my patients, I'm going to have downtime, I'm going to skim this book, I'm going to get home, I'm going to do some block, and then the next day routine. The problem is that sometimes does happen, but also you get tired sometimes. Some days are just drawn out, some days are just stressful, and you won't get to the block. So do the best that you can when you have downtime to study, but also take downtime to rest. Don't tell yourself I should always be reading, I should always be doing a QBank. You don't want to wear yourself out. Third year is long, there's a lot of clerkships, there's a lot of shelves, you have step 2 waiting for you at the end of it. Kind of keep yourself at a healthy pace, give yourself breaks. Be smart about it. So when you have downtime and you're not too tired, keep it's a very tiny book. Just keep it in your bag, and just kind of work through a chapter. If you want, talk to a resident about a chapter. Those kind of give you a little mini lecture that's super fun. Makes the content much more entertaining and much more memorable. If you see a patient in the morning and they have something and you're not too familiar with it, look at this real quick, because more often than not, the questions you'll get pimped on in psych are just going to be in this book. So kind of give yourself an edge and just, come prepared to morning presentations, because you kind of quickly reviewed a text on the content of whatever the patient has. So hope this video helps. Super simple technique for psych. Go through UWorld, slowly throughout the clerkship. Click the psych and just go through it and study whatever you're learning for each question under each little thing. Look it up in this first aid book. Read it here. Write your notes in from UWorld into it. As you get closer to the shelf, just review this book. You have it with you in your bag. You have downtime. You can look at it. And even better, when you're like seeing patients and you're reviewing them and they have something and you look it up and you're like, oh, I've already read this and I have my UWorld notes, and you can kind of give a strong presentation in the morning, and it only helps. So hope you guys found this useful. Super simple technique if you have to psych. It's a fun rotation. Have fun. Soak it in. Let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments below. Check out the Facebook group. We're doing a great job of asking each other questions and helping each other out. Always happy, guys, to help you out if I can more. Let me know if you have any questions. And as always, enjoy your studies.